Today, guys, we're back working on the 2015 Outback that's got 260,000 miles on it. This is an extremely cheap pickup off of Facebook Marketplace about 2 years ago, and it's been an absolutely phenomenal vehicle, rock solid, reliable. Now, we're going to touch on a couple things today. It is nearing the end of summer, but it's still extremely hot here in South Carolina, if you can't tell by the sweat literally rolling off and dripping off of me. So what we're going to do is recover the system, leak and vacuum test the system, and recharge it to the proper amount, just in case any little bit of Freon or refrigerant has leaked out over the last couple years or however long it's been since the last refrigerant service was done. Also have some maintenance to take care of in the form of rear brakes, replacing rotors and pads as they're getting kind of thin. They're not too metal yet, but they're getting kind of thin, and we have a trip planned to the North Carolina mountains within the next month and want to have every ounce of braking power at our disposal, both going up and down the mountains. With that said, let's go ahead and jump into the video. So guys, to start off the service, as I said at the beginning of the video, we're gonna do an AC system service. What we're gonna do is take off our covers on the high and low side service ports. We are going to hook up our AC machine, recover the refrigerant from the AC. It will tell us exactly how much it pulls out. We will match that to the specified amount that is supposed to be in the system to see if we are low. Once we do that, we'll likely go ahead and replace our Schrader valves on both the high and low port. They're very cheap, very easy to replace, and cheap insurance against future leakage, because a lot of times those Schrader valves, once you disturb them, open and close them, they can develop leakage. Even if you vacuum and leak test the system and find no leaks anywhere else, those are a point of failure. So we'll go through, do that, we'll vacuum the system. That boils all of the moisture out of the system, which is detrimental to an AC system, having moisture or humidity in the system, which as hot and humid as it today, any amount of time having the system open will get that moisture in there. So we pull it under a vacuum to lower the boiling point of the water inside to boil out and remove that moisture, so we have a nice dry environment for our refrigerant and refrigerant oil. Now, once we're done with the AC system service, we're going to go on the back side and get on that rear brake replacement, as mentioned at the beginning of the video. I'm going to remove these caps, and I'm going to try to get the microphone really close to see if we can hear any kind of hiss. A hiss will indicate a slight leak from those Schrader valves. And we did hear a little bit of a pressure release hiss pop off there. And one at the low side, so slight amount of leakage from the Schrader valves held in by our service caps. They're an important line of protection in both keeping dirt, debris, and buildup out of there, and keeping any kind of contaminants out when you are driving the car and need to service it. You don't want a bunch of dirt and oil and grease and debris to get in here when you hook those service ports on, because then it'll get in your AC machine, getting your gauges, and also getting the AC system, which is a bad thing. So always want to keep track of your service port caps, and if they're missing, replace them immediately. It's not something you can just not do with, kind of like a tire valve cap. You can do without those to a degree, but AC system you should not run without your caps on. So we'll go ahead and get our hoses out, hook up to our high side, hook up to our low side, open up the valves, and get the machine going. So guys, the recovery process just finished, and we pulled out 0.6 pounds essentially, which is quite low because this is supposed to have 0.98 pounds at the top of the capacity range, or 0.45 kilograms. So quite a bit low. This system did cool. It did seem to take a little bit longer than it should to cool down, but it didn't feel like it was that low. And as we see here, we pulled out 1/10 of an ounce of oil, so probably don't need to worry about injecting any more oil into there. So we'll go through in the procedure. We are under vacuum now, holding a vacuum, but we're probably going to go ahead and take loose our connectors, replace those Schrader valves, put the connectors back on, and then vacuum this thing for about 20-30 minutes or so. So we got our service lines off of there. I'm going to go ahead and replace these Schrader valves, as I said earlier. Use our Schrader valve tool. Just want to make sure we don't develop a leak there. Now you can get these kind of service trays for air conditioned systems at your local parts house, or you can just take in your valves and get replacements at those places like Advanced Auto Parts, CarQuest, etc. So just select the correct one or use the one that you were given by the parts house. Put a little bit of oil on the O-ring to lube it up before you install it. And run it on down in there. Now, you don't want to really crank this thing, aluminum and aluminum. There are torque screwdrivers available for these. Put them at the proper torque, but normally you can hand tighten them. I just know a lot of guys really reef on those things and strip them out badly. So just be aware of your own strength. We got this one kind of in a bad location, right up against the firewall. Both high and low side valves are the same on this Outback. Most of the time you'll have a larger valve on the high side than the low side, but this 2015 has the same on either side of the system. Some even use the same style or size as you get in your valve stems for your tires. These are the larger ones. Again, snug them up, but don't go reefing on them and strip them out. So, got both of those replaced now. We're gonna go ahead and hook the machine back up and draw our long vacuum, leak test, and recharge the system as we were, like I said, a bit low. So hook back up, we'll go over here to vacuum. Standard time's 25 minutes. That should be perfectly fine. And we'll have it leak test afterwards. And good to go. Come back in 25 minutes. All right, guys, our vacuum is complete and we've let it set for over an hour now, so we are good, no leaks detected. We can go ahead and recharge this AC system and get moving on to the brakes. Now, one thing to remember with a variable output compressor like this is never start the engine with the refrigerant charge out. You will burn up and destroy that compressor. So we're gonna go ahead now and charge the system. .98 pound. And let it do its thing. All right, complete. Disconnect our high side. Start the AC system to max. Let the system pressurize or equalize the hoses. And we'll put our thermometer in and check our vent temps. And our AC is feeling nice and cool, pulling on down to 40 degrees and likely on below. So good to go there. Surprising that the system was as low as it was, but good to know that it's now properly topped up with the correct amount of refrigerant, and we should get a little bit better performance, or a lot better performance, out of our AC system. Now that's done, let's go ahead and move on to the rear brake replacement. All right, guys, got the car jacked up. I'm gonna start this brake job real quick before the sun goes down. Yes, another boring Subaru rear brake job. As soon as we get the rear wheels off, we'll get out our scan tool and put it in brake service mode, as it is an eyesight equipped electronic rear caliper vehicle. We do have to rewind electronically those brakes. Now, like I said, they're not down metal to metal. but they're close. And we do have that trip to the mountains coming up, so I wanted to go ahead and get them done. Probably should go ahead and replace the brake fluid while we're in here. Don't know how long it's been. It's dark, but not sure if I'm gonna have enough time or daylight today to get that done. I'm gonna go ahead and grab the little Think Car 689 BT. All right, guys, so we've been through these multiple times now on video on these rear brakes with the electronic rear caliper. So just gonna knock it out. If you need a more in-depth tutorial, I have them. I'll still try to call out torque specs, all the prudent information as we get to it, but we're kind of gonna buzz right through this, or at least try to. Like I said, we're fighting the end of the daylight. I can never remember. I think these are a 7. And they are, and I don't know why they're not just an 8 mil. Why would you do a 7? Subaru. Don't understand it. But they do. And we can't forget to unplug our electrical pigtail down here with the safety clip because ours broke, which we covered under the rear brake recall. So guys, let me know in the comments about the video. I asked that because a lot of you have been missing the auto repair videos. But when I put them up, no one seems to watch them. Compared to the talking head videos where I talk about common issues or Subaru news or stuff like that, definitely gets way more views than this stuff. Now I know these are slow burners, so to say, because it's a catalog essentially of repair information that people will forever go back to and use to look up repair procedures and processes. But as far as actual viewing, it's just not something that people watch doing these repair videos, or at least not enough to pay the bills or make the old YouTube money, so to say. That might have been part of what was making the noise. I'd heard a god-awful noise from this thing anytime EyeSight activated, and EyeSight uses the rear brake caliper because it can electronically control it. But I've been hearing a very weird metal-to-metal sound, and I thought my brakes were worse than they are, and I'm not saying they're not horrible. We got all the life out of them. But that squealer tab is bent back weird and broken off, and I wonder if pieces of it got hung somewhere between the rotor and the heat shield or something. Curious about that. So that's rewound. We'll have to get the regular caliper press out to push that back. In the meantime, go ahead and hang it up. Don't let it dangle by the brake hose, no matter what anyone tells you on the internet. I can say that the redesign of these rear brakes makes them super easy to service, at least compared to the older model where these caliper bracket bolts kind of went through the spindle in a weird way, and you had to have a really long extension. You had to go in from basically beside the axle to get them. They were a pain in the butt. You basically had to do them by hand. You couldn't get an impact or impact socket on them. But really glad they redesigned that, because it makes the service just so much easier. Now, these rotors aren't horrible. They could probably be turned, but they do have a fair-sized lip on them. So as cheap as new rotors are, and as good as they will ride without any kind of issue, go ahead and put rotors on and pads, and don't worry about it. Now, we were in here not too long ago putting a new hub assembly back here, actually on both sides. So my theory about that squealer tab breaking off and getting back here behind the rotor, null and void. Anyway, all we gotta do now is clean up the hub surface with our hub buddy, get our new rotor out and clean it with some brake parts cleaner, make sure our slide pins are good up here, and compress this caliper and go back together. Really quick, really easy, as long as you have the correct service tools and a scan tool to make life much easier in regard to service mode for this. And what I'm using here to compress this caliper is quickly become one of my favorite service tools for Japanese cars. Of course, being a Japanese tool, they make the right stuff for the job, so to say. But this is a toolkit from KTC Kyoto Tool Company, made in Japan. Phenomenal little brake pad spreader. And they also have the convenient little puck here and a wrench for manually winding back those calipers, as you see there. Try to put links for this stuff down below for Amazon Japan, but I heard recently that Amazon Japan tool buying might be a thing of the past due to some trade changes and some tariffing. I haven't ordered anything from Japan in a while, but will be very sad to see Amazon Japan snip, because I was ordering a lot of Japanese tools there, especially with how strong the US dollar was compared to the Japanese yen. So our rotor should be Subaru part number 26700AL010. Hoping these are right. I ordered these parts 6 months ago maybe, and they've been sitting in the shop all this time waiting to do this rear brake job. And in looking, I believe the passenger side was a little more worn than this side. Not quite metal to metal, but next best thing. So we let it run probably longer than we should have. So I got this batch a while back on the Subaru dealer tech page. They were talking about the massive amount of overspray getting on factory rotors, and it's not that bad, but it's not great. But first time you hit the brake, the pad will scrub that paint right off of there, and just as long as it's not embedding and contaminating that pad, hopefully it will not. I would hope that Subaru, or the outside manufacturer for Subaru for these brake rotors, would use a paint that would not contaminate the pads. We'll look real quick at our pads, which is a 26627AL00 Subaru part number. Looks like the new part number. And in the box, all you get are your pads and a little piece of paper here that says where they go and which way they're oriented. Nothing about greasing them or putting anything on them. So, as I said, pretty sure they go on dry. If you wanted to, I guess you could put a little bit on the ears on either side, where they kind of ride in here, but they don't really contact. And to look at that inner, that's what that squealer tab should have looked like compared to that one we took off that was broken, which is right there for comparison. And like I said, I put these on dry before, or we can grease them up. Just a little bit there on the ears where it rides right there. But I don't think it really makes much difference once you get the caliper on there and the springs on there. But at your discretion. So now that we got our bracket back on, we torqued the two 14mm headed bolts to 66 Newton meters. A little bit of the silicone brake lube on the rear pad. Don't get it on the braking surface. And don't get it on the rotor. Slide them into place. And we'll bring our compressed brake caliper back around. We can get it down the hook. Just like so. Now these slide pins, carefully take them out, take a look at them. They're in really good shape. Put a little bit of lube on them, clean them up with some brake parts cleaner and a rag, and put them back in. Torque them to 25 Newton meters. .25 Newton meters. Put our spring clip back in. That can be an aggravating pain. We'll put our electrical connector back in at the bottom with our lock. And then we'll put in our wheel speed sensor and brake line hold down bolt. And we'll put our wheel and tire assembly back on there and torque our lugs to 120 Newton meters. Now we gotta do is repeat the process on the passenger side and go back in, use the scan tool to go back to normal brake operation. So guys, here's the passenger side all buttoned up, and yeah, I got every bit of good out of those. Definitely worse over here. Still don't know what happened to the squealer tabs. I guess they squealed until they broke off, but who knows? All right guys, everything's buttoned back up. Gonna go ahead and return to regular service. And we are back to normal mode. all good to go. All right, guys, and with that, we are all done for AC service and our rear brake replacement on this 2015 Outback. Everything went pretty smoothly. We did run out of light, but we got nice cold air conditioning once again, and we got new brakes on the back. We'll probably go ahead and do a brake fluid service another day just to wrap it up. But other than that, we're good to go. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you all in the next one.